not be able to stay home, brother. You will not be able to plug in, turn on, and cop out. You will not be able to lose yourself on Skag and skip out for beer during commercials because the revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by Xerox in 4 parts without commercial interruptions. The revolution will not show you pictures of Nixon blowing a bugle and leading a charge by John Mitchell, General Abrams, and Spyro Agnew to eat hog maws confiscated from a Harlem sanctuary. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by the Schaefer Award Theater and will not star Natalie Woods and Steve McQueen or Bullwinkle and Julia. The revolution will not give your mouth sex appeal. The revolution will not get rid of the nub.
Gil Scott Heron, the revolution will not be televised. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman with Sharif Abdel-Quddus. Our guests are Lieutenant Dan Choi. He's speaking to us from Washington, D.C., West Point graduate, Iraq War vet, facing discharge under the military's Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy, founder of Nights Out, a group of LGBT graduates of West Point, and Urvashi Vad, attorney and longtime gay rights activist. She's executive director of the Arcus Foundation and the former executive director of the National Gay and Lesbian Task Force. Sheree?
Lieutenant Dan Choi, you first came out publicly on the Rachel Maddow show earlier this year in March. You then wrote a letter to President Obama and members of Congress asking that you not be fired. Can you describe what you wrote about in that letter and what's happened since then?
My letter was based on the very first lessons that I learned at the military academy at West Point about 10 years ago. Before we learned anything about the military, before we learned how to stand at attention or salute or march in step, we learned the honor code. The honor code that says a cadet will not lie or tolerate those who lie. It's simple. It doesn't say that that's just relevant to straight cadets or straight soldiers, whereas under Don't Ask, Don't Tell, gay soldiers are forced to lie. It's an order to them that they deceive based on who they love, or those things that support them going on. So I wanted to send a message to President Obama that our military, and not only our military, but our society's values are based on integrity first. There are a lot of things on everybody's priority lists and their agendas and their plates, as people might call it. But I think when you look at what our nation is founded on, when you look at what our communities and our fabric is made out of, you have to look at our values. Do you believe in lying? And when are you going to restore integrity to all of our soldiers? And when are you going to support them in doing that? So that was essentially what I said. Now you look at a couple of the things that are going on. Since then, there's been a debate on whether we should send more troops to Afghanistan. I was just marching out here 2 days ago with thousands upon thousands of college-age Americans. They would gladly join their ROTC programs. In a heartbeat, they would join. And they're educated. They have skills for reconstruction or engineering or the medical professions or translating. Myself, I am an Arabic linguist. That was my degree from West Point. I also have a degree in environmental engineering. When I was in Iraq, I was helping with the reconstruction. And I think that's critical in any kind of a counterinsurgency effort. But here you have a ban on honesty in the military, at least for our gay and lesbian service members, and you've kicked out 13,000 service members because they're truthful about who they are. The problem is not just that we 13,000 are the victims. There's 13,000 units out there. There's 13,000 teams that are now without the skills that those soldiers, those service members can provide. So when you're talking about sending troops to Afghanistan, you're now discounting these groups of people that are willing, capable, strong, and wanting to serve, but they just don't want to sacrifice their integrity in order to do it. And I think the lesson here is whatever you do, whether you send troops or not, whatever number you send, the most important thing is that you send a message to the rest of the world that if we're over there in other countries telling anybody about democracy or equality or a pluralistic society or respecting all different groups and tribes and political affiliations, we should do the same at home. And we shouldn't sacrifice our values and pit groups against each other and strip rights away from other people and force soldiers and service members to lie while we're doing something of preaching to other countries.
And so the military did send you a letter. You're facing discharge. Where does that stand right now?
Technically, I am still in the military, so I am a serving officer. I am a lieutenant in the Army National Guard. I'm an infantry officer. And right now, the recommendation as of June 28th was to discharge me. Regardless of my skill as an Arabic interpreter or as a West Point graduate or a combat veteran, I even gave a good portion of my testimony before the Board of Officers in Arabic. And the officers asked me afterwards, Lieutenant, can you translate that? Because there was nobody in the entire building that could translate that Arabic into English so that they could understand it. And that's part of the devastation of what Don't Ask, Don't Tell is, not only to the service member, but to the entire military. We're being stripped of these capabilities. So I will gladly stay in the military. I will gladly serve. And if this law gets repealed and I happen to be discharged by then, I will be the first person in that recruiting station, because whether we're going to war or whether we are helping with humanitarian reconstruction and rehabilitation, or helping out with the operations in Katrina, or putting out fires all throughout our nation, there are people that are willing to step up and be part of the team. And you're stripping away that ability and that responsibility from those people because they refuse to sacrifice their integrity, and you're forcing them to lie.
And Lieutenant Dan Choi, how will the discharge affect retirement benefits, affect your West Point scholarship?
At this point, they have said that I can get an honorable discharge, general discharge, or an other than honorable discharge. I know some people don't understand all the differences and nuances, but many people have gotten other than honorable discharges, and that simply means that you get no benefits that you've earned. You will be stripped of your VA, that's Veterans Affairs, home loan benefits, your Montgomery GI, that's your education scholarship benefits, and even your medical benefits. If I get an other than honorable discharge, and I'm 50% disabled, I have respiratory illnesses and fractures and all these things that have been incurred through my service, I would lose the very benefit of going into a hospital, a VA hospital. I wouldn't be able to get medical treatment. So a lot of things are on the line, and it's even worse for a lot of people. You hear about people like my classmate, Anthony Woods, who graduated from Harvard after his 2 tours in Iraq, and he had to pay back over $30,000 in his tuition. A West Point education is now estimated to be worth about $500,000, and so I would have to pay back a portion of that. Depends on the kind of discharge that you get, but I want to tell you that I've continued to stay in contact with my Iraqi friends, and I got a message from an Iraqi doctor. We helped to rebuild his hospital while I was there, and he's in South Baghdad right now. And he's seen some of the internet, YouTube, and CNN interviews and other appearances, and he said, "Brother, I know that you're gay, but you're still my brother, and you're my friend. And if your country that sent you to my country, if America that sent you to Iraq will discharge you such that you can't get medical benefits, you can come to my hospital any day. You can come in and I will give you treatment. In South Baghdad, you can come, because it's my duty to pay you back somehow for the sacrifices that you've made. It would be my honor." So I hope that our country can learn from that Iraqi doctor.
Lieutenant Dan Choi is an Iraq War veteran. He's facing discharge from the military under the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy. He's also founder of